Good morning, CLC. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, everyone who's here in person for being here, as well as on this broadcast. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. We hope you had a wonderful week, and we hope you are going to enjoy this service. We will come to our inner healing experience. I ask everyone to just get yourself comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. Relax your body. If you need to, wiggle around a bit. Just let all the tension and all the stress go. Allow your mind to be present in this moment and be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me. Sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems, while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words: I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically in the room next to me or virtually on this broadcast, and share in gratitude and confidence in saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
With the being back together, this is week 2. We counted down all the weeks we weren't together, all the months. This is week 2 of being back together. It's nice to see all of you here today. It's nice to see all of you there at home. Actually, after this talk, if you want to stick around, this is kind of strange, but it goes to what a mercenary I am for Science of Mind. After this talk, we're going to be recording another talk for another center that they're going to play next week. So if you just can't stand to hear one talk alone, and what's more, it's going to be on an entirely different subject. So, folks, we are extending ourselves today for the Science of Mind, for the teaching of the Science of Mind across the world. And for those of you who weren't here last week, and this is your first week back, here's the place. We've kept it up for you. Actually, you've kept it up for you. All of you who've contributed so generously of time and money over the past almost 17 months. This is what you get for your trouble. Beautiful, great hall to come and sit in and enjoy music like that, which is just fantastic. So I told you last week, Dr. Deborah Morwood, actually, what she did on her summer vacation, she got her doctorate. Congratulations. Earned her Doctor of Theology in Clinical Pastoral Psychotherapy. So if you're wanting or needing some clinical pastoral psychotherapy, she is your go-to person. And I told you last week about her emails. If you've ever gotten an email from her, at least in the last, 10 years since she found this, the footer, the quote, that people put before their signature line is from William Stafford, and it says this: there's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Nothing we can do can stop time's unfolding. I don't know what's going to come next in this life, in this world. I've never really thought that I did. So I wanted instead to be resilient. I wanted to be prepared for whatever might come my way and whatever might come the culture's way, because very often I find myself in the position of trying to explain to others what's going on in the world. It's part of the job of ministry. People look to you and they say, why is this happening? And the true answer is, I don't know. The truer answer is, I don't know, and there is something that does know. And I'm talking to that as often as I can. More especially, I'm listening to that as often as I can. I don't know what's happening in the world. I don't know why things are the way they are. I don't know why half of Northern Europe seems to have slid away in the mud in this past week. I don't know why there are fires in the Northwest. And you say, well, it's climate change. And I don't know why there's climate change. I mean, yeah, I know why people do what they do and how the Industrial Revolution and one thing led to another. But the big picture, where all of this is heading and where we're going to wind up, I don't know. But there's a thread. There's a thread that I follow, and I don't follow it because I'm in the line of work of following it. I don't follow it because you expect me to follow it, or Ernest Holmes expects me to follow. I follow it for my own sanity. I follow it because I just have to, because I have nothing else. I have nothing else. This is a great way. You want to get to know God? Eliminate everything else in your life, you know? Go directly to the source, because life changes unpredictably. I need a higher power. I need a higher power. And this higher power has an amazing way of communicating itself to me and to you also in ways that we don't expect. Now, for example, you're sitting today in a spiritual center, aka church. We don't call it that for branding purposes, but it looks more like, you know, if it looks like a duck, right? This looks more like a church than it doesn't, right? Okay, you're sitting in rows, me, music, this. You expect something here. You expect some kind of spiritual light, or at least peace or comfort, something to get you through the week. But I'm telling you, it's outside these walls as much as it's in here. It's inside the people you'd least expect it to be in. Your answers, your guidance, your purpose. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And the poets know this, and they write about birds and animals and the beauty of the flowers and all this kind of thing. And so we look there. But it's also in the ugly stuff. It's also in the synthetic, man-made stuff, you know? It's really everywhere. The message of oneness, the message of love, that we're in this love together, this unconditional love. And when we say love, which is a whole other topic really, the different types of love, we often think romantic love or familial love or personal love, but there's a generic and unconditional and even neutral kind of love that is the mortar between the bricks. It's the thing that holds all of creation together. Call it purposefulness if you want. That's longer and more unwieldy than love, but call it divine intelligence. Give it whatever name you want. But there's this something. It's that thread. It's that thread of meaning and purpose that's threaded through everything. And I depend on it. And it shows up in the strangest ways. I got in the car this morning to come here, and I have a CD that I listen to. I have an old car, and it has a single CD player, and it's just easier to leave the same CD in all the time, listen to it over and over. And if you're interested in what it is, I'll tell you later. But it's beautiful music. It's beautiful, calming, sweet, lovely piano music. And somehow or other today, I'd hit the other switch, which took it off CD. It didn't spit the thing out, but it moved it to radio, and I got to listen to Nuri Nuri and the Blues Show on KPFT coming here. And you might not think that's a real spiritual setup for what we do here, but man, it made me happy. And I heard Key to the Highway on there, you know, and it just made me really happy. And I thought, this is what I needed. I didn't need this morning, I didn't need a soporific kind of a thing. You know, I didn't need a kind of a narcotic trance of feel-good, ambient sound, new age music. I needed some thrash. I needed some shred. And that's what I got. Now maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't like that kind of thing. Well, it was my car, my radio, you see. Everybody has their own thing. You have your own thing. You have your own source of spirituality. You have your own source of meaning and purpose and guidance. And it's a thread. Or it's a supply chain. It's a supply chain. So I got this email the other day, and it had pictures of ordinary objects sliced in half. Have you seen this one? They take a golf ball and they slice it in half so you can see what the inside of a golf ball looks like. A tube of toothpaste sliced lengthways, I think it was, and how all of this was like red and white toothpaste all swirled together, and you get to see how that works, and on and on. And a gas pump. They didn't actually slice it in half, they just opened it, you know, opened the front of it. And a gas pump. Now, the business side of a gas pump is you put your credit card in if you use credit cards or whatnot. And you know the thing, you have several buttons that you hit, and of course the nozzle, gas. Well, this showed you all of the interior stuff, and it's complicated. There's all sorts of electrical wiring in there. And then, of course, the business end of the thing, the different pipes that run for the different grades of gasoline and the diesel, and they run to underground tanks. So they'd excavated And they showed you huge, big as a stage, one each for each of the different grades of gasoline, these massive tanks. And every now and then you'll see a tanker truck pull up, and they're loading these things underneath. Well, I don't think of that when I get gas. It doesn't occur to me. It might be a little creepy or something to think that you're standing on, thousands upon thousands of gallons of combustible stuff. But this is where it comes from, and the gas in the trucks comes from someplace, and it comes from a refinery, and ultimately it comes from, West Intermediate Light Crude. Well, there's a source. See, there's a source. Maybe you're not wild about fossil fuels anymore, but there they are. And they get to you, and they get to you not in raw form, they get to you in a usable form. And they'll even match your car to your, the octane level and so on. Well, that's how spirit works. But most of the time, we just pay the pump. We just put the nozzle in the thing. And we're not thinking about what we're doing. We're thinking about where we're going, what time we need to get there, and so on. But realize that all around you, not just in that manner, but in all different forms and shapes and sizes, there are pipes and wires that you can't see. There are fiber optic cables that you can't spot that are all feeding you. They're all invisible. Principle is invisible. Substance is invisible. Only the mechanism of supply can be seen. Every now and then you glimpse a wire or a pipe or something, But the substance back of it comes from the unseen, comes from the invisible realm. That's its nature. And it delivers itself to you, if you let it, in usable, practical form. So that if you need a tank full of gas, it's not giving you ideas for a new painting, It's not coming at you with irrelevant things. It's delivering the goods in the way that you need it to. The question is, what is the way that you need it to? What do you want from life today? What do you need today? Look at the absences that you're experiencing in your life and imagine what the presences would be. I had somebody one time say they were in a kind of a funk, spiritually. They said, I keep trying to practice the presence and I find myself practicing the absence. Practicing the absence is standing there saying, there is no power. There's no power for me. The power departed years ago, or it's busy filling somebody else's tank, but it's not here for me, when in fact it's seeking you all the time. It's nagging you. It's pestering you. It's pulling on your sleeve. This presence is all the time wanting you to know that you are the beloved, that you are the beloved of this, and that you have great things to do. You shall, who was it, Emma Hopkins said, you shall rise and do mighty things. You ever feel like rising and doing mighty things? You think to yourself, it's the old days when they rose and did mighty things. I just want to get to lunch. I just want to make it through this day, this week, till I can finally have a vacation. But you shall rise and do mighty things. And the mighty things that you'll rise and do are about the giving and receiving of unconditional love. In the ways that you know to do it, in the ways that you don't know to do it, that you're still learning, that are still coming at you. Surprising little details of things, ways that you can help, ways that you can make a difference in the world, sometimes by just giving another person a break. I said last week that what we do in the science of mind, you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. You just really don't. You don't want to say, everybody will be healed of everything. Everybody will be rich as millionaires, and they'll be, the milk and honey rolling the Bible does some of that, milk and honey in the streets, which at a time of year like this you really don't want, because it kind of curdles and gets all nasty and sticky and gross, It's like, can't we do something different here? No, it's more complicated than that. It's more beautiful than that. How the promise delivers. How the promise delivers. Your life, my life, all life is appreciably better when we believe in the existence of this thread, this unseen supply. For one reason, we're not so busy trying to get what we need from the person next to us. Okay? We're not trying to cut in line in traffic. I was reading a thing the other day. It says the zipper model for 2 lanes of traffic going down to 1 is by far the most efficient method. And that is each person takes a turn. See, there's a dominant lane and a recessive lane. You know this, right? And if you know that that lane on the right is going to end, you get in the left lane as soon as you can, and then you're a superior human being. Because you've traveled this road before, and these people on the right, they're from out of town. Or they're evil. They're just plain evil. And they're trying to get over on you and everyone else, and you're not going to let them, because you're standing up for civilization, you know, and you're standing up, right? And all of these power trips and all of this weirdness goes on, and all of this goes away if everybody just takes a turn. Just let them in, and everything moves right along. So what keeps that from happening? Our unhealed psychology. When I was in 3rd grade, they didn't call on me to do thus and such. So I'm not letting you in to my lane, because the universe owes me something, you see, and it's never paid off, right? That's spiritual psychology. The only thing wrong with this world is messed up spiritual psychology, where we're running our dramas on each other. We're trying to extract from other people the good that we would not give ourselves permission to have, even if it were offered, because we're not ready yet. And we look at them and we say, where'd they get all that good? Or we look at them, and this is more complicated, we look at them and we say, look at them and all that pain and suffering. I wonder what they did to bring that about. I'm sure glad I'm not them. And you know, a nice religious way of saying that is, there but for the grace of God go I. But I have the grace of God, so I'm over here just fine, high and dry, you know, while these people suffer. That's unhealed spiritual psychology. I've been looking at a lot of pictures from southern Germany, and they look eerily familiar. The architecture's different, but they look eerily familiar. They look like Hurricane Harvey. They look like the floods that we've had here. They look like Ike. They look like Rita. They look like Katrina. People out there in waders and hip boots with shovels, sandbags. And it's too late for the sandbags, but they're doing it anyway, you know. And houses sheared in half. And what I see on the faces, I mean, you read into stuff because they're not captioned, you know. What I see on the faces, pain and compassion, 2 things. I lost what I have, you lost what you have, but you're my neighbor. What can I do to help? If I'm not physically able to help, there's something else I can do. There's something behind that I can do. And what all of us can do is spiritual work. What all of us can do is spiritual work. That's why when asked, what's the best thing you can do for somebody else, the answer is pray with an asterisk. And the asterisk is to pray not for what you think they want, not for what you think they ought to have or what they ought to be rid of, but to pray to know that they know who they are and whose they are. That's a saying from Sandy Newkirk. Hi, Sandy. She's watching today. To know who you are and whose you are, okay? When we know that, when we affirm that about all others, we're doing the highest form of holy work. And if you don't believe me, read the gospel accounts of Jesus and his interactions with people. He was not a busybody. He was not a meddler. He didn't get in there and say, you know what you need? I can fix you right up. Might take a while, but, you know, we've got all day. He didn't say, I can fix you right up, but for a few extra shekels, I can move you up to the silver plan of spiritual care, you know? He didn't know what was going on with them. So he asked, do you choose this? Do you choose to be made well? Somewhere I have an actual list of the healings of Jesus and the times that he asked, or the times that he went general with people. He said, your faith has made you whole. He didn't say, I did this. So your faith has made you whole, you know. So the highest form of spiritual work is to know that everybody doesn't need spiritual work from you. They need to be, right? They need to be conducted into the presence of their own magnificence. I, as a minister, have no greater power than anybody else. Ministers don't. There's not like a pecking order of ministers, practitioners, and the general public who have a greater spiritual acumen or anything else. What I bring to the table is repetition and routine. I know how to give a talk. I've been doing it a long time. I know how to teach class. I've been doing that a long time. And that's similar to saying that plumbers are not a higher, more elevated breed of being on the planet. But when your pipe breaks, you don't want to pull somebody in off the street and say, what do we do now? You want somebody with some experience on this. And so your psychologists, your clinical pastoral psychotherapists are people who have trained themselves, and through repetition, and Reverend Deborah with the doctorate this summer or this spring, yeah, I've been knowing her 20 years. She's been doing her work the whole time. All of you who know her will agree. This is not a person who takes an hour off from spiritual self-care and study or compassionate care of others. I'm just saying that because she's in the room. I'd be saying that anyway, but you know. But she's done the work to open the door, to conduct you to. And if you're on Facebook, which most of you I think are, check out the graphic that Lisa put up a couple of days ago. And Lisa always looks, when I say this kind of thing, she's always like, who, me? She's our social media manager, and it's on there. And it talks about how God has no religion. There's not a, you know, it's not the Christian God and this God and that God. There's an overarching presence, and religion is a story. Religion is a story. And what religion does, and what the man who wrote that did, Reverend John Shelby Spong, who was a fantastic spiritual teacher, is said what religion does is it doesn't give you God, it points you to the door. It points you to the threshold of spiritual practice through which you develop an understanding and a relationship with the source of your own being. What I implore you to do, the world needs this stuff right now. And I'm reading Ernest Holmes, and he's talking about during the Korean conflict. He said, the world needs this stuff right now. And the big looming threat at that time was nuclear annihilation. And if you go back and read the founders of New Thought from whatever decade they're writing, and they're all saying this, the world needs it. Never before has the world been in the terrible fix it's in right now. And you think, well, we made it out of the 1880s. But today, we got a lot on our plates. We got a lot on our plates. And we even had a conversation before you got here this morning about the Delta variant, which we're reading about now. Because we have a center, and we have children here, and we have people we're trying to be safe, and not just safe for themselves, but safe for who they come in contact with, which is why I'm not giving a lot of enthusiastic hugs. I kind of did last week. I got carried away. I hadn't seen you guys in so long. Please don't take it personally if I don't hug you, but I'm around people who are fragile medically, okay? And I've been vaccinated too, but you can carry stuff, and why roll the dice that way? Why roll the dice? It's like, put your seatbelt on if you're driving with me. Yeah, I know it's the law, and we'd probably get away with it if you didn't, but put your seatbelt on if you're driving with me. Because they say these things work. Let's don't find out the hard way. Well, there's a lot on our plates. I don't know what to do about Germany and Belgium, and I don't know what to do about this, but there is a power that does know. And we've used it here before. We've moved weather around in this center, you know? I remember one time somebody stood, this is a long time ago, there was a hurricane said to be coming. It was out in the Gulf. It was not long after Alicia. You remember Alicia? That was right at the time we were moving onto this property. You drove up 45 and all the billboards on 45 were twisted to the ground, one after the other. The thing came right up 45. Sometimes they go up 59. Well, it was either later that summer or the next summer that there was supposedly a storm coming. And we had a class up there in Catherman Hall in front of those big windows. And one of the students, I remember who it was, jumped up and stood at the window and told the storm to turn around in like this biblical voice, this Charlton Heston kind of voice, you know. You will not come this way. You can see the hair blowing back, you know, the whole, right, robes and stuff. Thing turned around and went away. And what we don't want to do is send it to Corpus. See, that's not right. Go to Brownsville or somewhere. No. That's not right either. How about unwind? Unwind altogether and be calm and dissipate into nothingness. Oh, that's a tall order, isn't it? Is it? Is it? How about? We know that there is a power greater than we are, right where we are, doing that which needs to be done. And as we know this about these godlings who are our companions, who are our family on this earth, as we speak this word like I'm about to do, what I want you to know is that it is rebounding into your own experience. You might not have a fire you need put out this week. You might not have floodwaters at your door, but maybe you have some bills due you don't have the money for. You've got to have a difficult conversation with somebody. Your kids are getting ready to go back to school, and you don't know what that's going to look like. You got a job prospect that you're trying to land, you know, or you're not feeling too well. There's just something, you know, some part of your body is hurting, or some part of your heart, in metaphorical terms, whatever it might be. What can heal floods, and what can heal fires, and what can heal pandemics can heal you of your needs, fill your needs through that invisible supply chain. Sometimes it'll look like a mistake. You think it's a CD with ambient music on it, and instead, whoa, it's blues coming out of the dashboard. And then it makes you smile, and your smile gets bigger and bigger. And one last thing, when I was coming here this morning, as I was listening to the blues show, which you can catch every Sunday on, I'm going to give these people a free pitch because they deserve it. KPFT, Pacifica, 90.1 on your FM dial. Okay, listener-supported radio for years, 50, 60 years here in Houston. Just outstanding music and also talk and political stuff and current events and all. But while I was listening to the blues show, a car appeared in front of me, and the license plate, maybe it's one of you, was Tarlin, Tarlin. It was a snazzy car with appropriately, you know, personalized plates, Tarlin. And I saw that, and all of a sudden I'm going, Tarlin, Tarlin, stand by me. Whoa, stand by me. You see, just when you need it. And I pulled into the parking spot out here doing stand by me, so that I could get up here and stand by you. All right? So let's know together now. One life, one power, one presence. It's mighty to heal. And this one is never overwhelmed. Holmes tells us it's never absorbed by its own creation. It's never exhausted. I may get exhausted, but this one is never exhausted. So I turn to that inexhaustible source. And I give it fires and floods and plagues and all manner of trouble, crime and corruption and poverty, inequality, hostility. I hand it all off. And I ask you, tell me who I am. Remind me where I'm from. Remind me whose I am. and be present in the heart of every suffering person. Those who are visibly, noticeably suffering, and those who are too walled up right now to know what they feel. But they hurt inside, behind their armor, behind their fear and their anger, their aggression, they hurt. Remind them who they are, because they are of the one as well. There is no other, as Reverend Lisa said beautifully in a talk a year ago. There is no them. It's only we who are here. I affirm and know the presence of this thread of spiritual light that accompanies me every step of the way. And I choose to believe in magic. I choose to believe in astonishment and awe and wonder and trust, and have ideas jump out at me from every doorway of what I might do next to be more fully who I am, to express more fully how I love. As I know this about myself, of course, absolutely, positively, I'm knowing it about every other sentient being on the face of creation. And with a light heart and a smile, I release this knowing, into spiritual law to do what it does along that supply chain, to move substance, to supply, to me, to all, for this knowing and the way that it manifests. I am so deeply grateful. I let it all go, and I say, and so it is.
And as we come to giving time, I want to thank each and every one of you. Like Jesse said, we would not be able to be here if it was not for you, for your love, for your support, for your encouragement. All monetary donations, no matter how big or small, are appreciated. We are grateful for you. We love you, and we thank you. So with that, I invite you to say with me now, divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
So I have a couple of things that are going to be a little bit different ideas here. So the first one is an announcement. We have some memorials coming up. And the first one is going to be August 1st at 1:30. And it will be for our resident poet laureate, Dick Schmeltzkopf. So on August 1st at 1:30, we will be doing a memorial for Dick Schmeltzkopf. We want you to know about it. If you want to come and support, Denise's got that well in hand, and I don't know how long she'll talk. It's Denise. But she's got a slideshow, and so we're going to get to see pictures and all of that. So please, if you feel moved, come to that. The next one will be in October, so we'll give you more information, but we want you to know about that. Dick's coming up. And then I know I make a face every time Jesse mentions what I post up on the page, mostly because I don't always remember what I post up on the page, and then I'm like, well, which one is he talking about now? Oh my goodness. And I know I've posted the one I'm about to reference before, because he said what he brings as minister is repetition and routine. And there's a meme going around, and usually when I see the meme, it's got Yoda. If you're not a Star Wars fan, the little green guy. And what the meme says is that a master has failed more than an apprentice has ever tried. Now, here's the good news. With prayer and treatment, you can't fail. It's not possible. It's not possible to fail in prayer or treatment. What you can do is tweak it or reorient it, or you've got what you want and you've decided this isn't exactly what you want, so then you just change the prayer a little bit and move on. So, but that's what it is. It is repetition and routine. The more often you do it, and if you set it as part of your routine where you do it every day, we talk about spiritual practice, you'll get better at it. So you can't fail at it, but you can improve. So that's what I'm going to do right here, right now. Repetition and routine. And it doesn't have to be boring. We have an amazing variety of words and languages that we can use. But as a Science of Mind minister, we all tend to start out the same way. There is one life, one power, one presence, one love. I'm a part of that love. It flows in me, through me, as me. Just as I know that it does each and every one of you. You are a walking manifestation of this love. I am a walking manifestation of this love. And in this love, anything, everything, all is possible. So as we sit in that love, enveloped in that love, we know that love. And we share that love with the people in Germany, with the people in Arizona, with all of the people all over the world who are experiencing extreme events in weather. We know in that love that resources are scrambling, that supply chains are reassembling, that resources are getting where they need to go, that needs are being met even before they are known. We know that people are wonderful and loving and know that they are children of God. We know that they know this love, and we know that the love flows through them, and they know that love. They feel those warm arms holding them. And as we move forward through this week, we look in each other's eyes and we see God looking back at us. We see that love shining through each and every face that we meet. And we hold this space, this sacred space that we create right here, right now. And we carry it with us everywhere. We see God everywhere. We see God in everything. We recognize the spirit that we are made from. And I'm grateful to know this, as I'm grateful to know you. And I am grateful for this place, and I'm grateful for these people, and I'm grateful for these musicians, and I'm grateful for our senior minister. And I'm grateful for you watching. And I release my word knowing it is done, even as I speak these words, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
So it
And
is.
so it is.